again, my little yarnivores and spiderettes. Fiber Spider back again with another tutorial just for you. And today we have got the woven filet blanket. Yes, gonna back it on up here and show you what I'm talking about. Yeah, the pattern looks as if, well, it's woven and consisting of just double crochets and chain stitches. It's really quite easy, and it is only a 12-row repeat. Now, it took me a while to figure this pattern out, but once I did, I had some wonderful people test it for me, so I want to give a big old thank you to Russ, Buddy, Rose, Spring, and Brenda. Thank you very much for testing this pattern. I really appreciate it. And to all of you, the pattern is available on my Etsy store. Now, for the good stuff. Okay, so for this particular project, I used Bernat Baby Sport in this lovely purple colorway, and I used about 2 skeins. The yardage is great, let me tell you. It is over 1,000 yards, as you can see. It is acrylic, yet oh so soft, and it is a weight of 3. So, for this particular project, I used a size 5mm, which is a size H crochet hook. You can, of course, use whatever works best for you. Other than that, let's get to it. Alrighty. Okay, first things first. For today's piece, I'm going to be using the same yarn, different colorway. By the way, this video is not sponsored, but I always like to let you know what it is that I use in case if you want to duplicate the results. Now, on to the base chain. So, for this particular piece, you need a multiple of 24 chains plus an additional 5 chains. So really, you can make this as wide or as narrow as you want to. Whether it's a scarf, a baby blanket, or a queen size, hey, totally up to you. However, I strongly suggest do a swatch first. You'll get used to the pattern and also be able to figure out, based on the dimensions of your swatch, how many multiples of 24 you will need in order to obtain your size. So, like I said, you're going to need multiple of 24 plus your additional 5, and that will be your base chain. Now, for today's piece, I'm going to be using 3 multiples of 24 because it will really give you an understanding of how the repeat works. So I've got 3 multiples of 24. That is 72 stitches plus the additional 5. So I have a total of 77 stitches. So that being said, let's get started. Alrighty, row 1. Okay, get ourselves situated here. And as I said, I have a total of 77 chains here. And as always, the timestamps will be in the description box down below, in case if you want to skip ahead or if you want to rewind, hey, more power to you. So for the first row, into the 5th chain from the hook, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, do a double crochet. Now this is going to act as an eyelet at the very, very edge, like so. And then after doing your double, 10 more doubles for a total of 11. And that's really how this first row is going to work. Series of 11 doubles separated by an eyelet. So after doing your 11, we'll do the eyelet, and then I'm going to do the majority of the row off camera because it is all the same. And I don't wish to bore you too terribly much. Just a little bit. So I've already got 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 and 11. And as always, I strongly suggest double count. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 9, 10, 11. Perfect. Then after 11 doubles, chain 1, skip a chain, and double into the next, followed by another 10 doubles for a total of 11. And that's really all there is to this particular row. It's just groupings of 11 doubles separated by a chain 1 space over and over and over again until you reach the end. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep on keeping on off camera, and I will meet back up with you when I am about to finish up the end of this row, just so that we can touch base and be clear. So I'm going to do the rest of my groupings of 11 separated by a chain 1 space, and I'll see you in a bit. Okay, so I just have one more grouping of 11 to do, and then we can finish up row 1 together. So I chained 1, and then skip a chain, double into the next, and 10 more for our total of 11. And subsequent rows, I think, should go by a little bit smoother because I don't know about you, but doing stitches into the chain for me is always the most fiddly. But once you have some established stitches to work within, it's a little bit easier, don't you think? All right, so I've already got my 5. And this yarn does split a little bit, but not too bad. So I've got, what, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11, yes. 2, 4, 6, 8, 9, 10, 11. Perfect, perfect. Okay, now at this point, you should have 2 stitches left over at the very end. That way we can create an eyelet here as well. So chain 1, skip the next chain, and then in the last chain, double crochet. Like so. So we started with an eyelet and we finish with an eyelet. So for row 1, your piece should look, so far, something like this. You know, it's just groupings of 11 separated by a chain space eyelet. And there you go, row 1. Okay, row 2. Now at the beginning of the rows, some people, for their first double, they like to do 3 chains. I like to do 2 chains for my initial double. Personally, I think it just looks a little bit cleaner and neater for the edge. So that's what I'm going to be doing. So for row 2, start off by chaining up 2. Turn your work. And our next double will be into the chain space. Like so. Every time you reach an eyelet, it's just 1 stitch, 1 double into that stitch. And then 1 more double into the next stitch. So we have right now a total of 3 doubles. Now the repeat for this row is groupings of 7, then 11, then 3, over and over and over until we reach the end of the row, separated of course by chain 1 space eyelets. So chain 1, and let's start with 7 doubles. So after chaining 1, skipping a stitch, going into the next with a double, and 6 more for a total of 7. So that's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, 2, 4, 7, yep. Chain 1, skip a stitch, double into the next 11 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. Yes. 2, 4, 6, 8, and 11. Good. Then another eyelet space and 3 doubles. So chain 1, skip a stitch, double in the next 3 stitches. 1, 2, and 3. So that is 1 repeat. Let's do another one. Okie dokie. So chain 1, skip a stitch, 7 doubles. Okay, it's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yep. 2, 4, and 7. Okay. Then chain 1, skip a stitch, double into the next 11 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. 2, 4, 6, 8, and 11. Okay. Chain 1, skip a stitch, and double into the next 3. 1, 2, and 3. So that's another repeat done. Okay, moving right along. Chain 1, skip a stitch, double into the next 7. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Chain 1, skip a stitch, double into the next 11. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11, chain 1, skip a stitch, and double into the next 3. So skip, then double, and then double into the chain space. And then at the end, well, you have two options really. You can either do your next double into the chain space, or you can try to double into the chain stitch. Either or, totally fine. I like to try to go into the chain stitch if I can. There you go. So, quick recap. Like I said before, after doing your initial 3 doubles at the very beginning of that row, it is 7, 11, 3, 7, 11, 3, 7, 11, and 3 until you reach the end of the row. And that is row 2. Alrighty, row 3. The beginning of this row is starting with 5 doubles because, as you can see, our eyelet is shifting over. So start off as per usual by chaining up 2. And that's going to count as our first double. And then double into the next 4 stitches. By the way, you don't want to go into this first double. No, it's the next one over. So that makes 2, 3, 4th goes into the chain space, and 5. So we got 5 doubles. Then chain 1, skip a stitch, excuse me, and then double into the next 11 stitches. So that's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11, yes? 2, 4, 6, 8, 9, 10, 11. Perfect. Okay. Then chain 1, skip a stitch, and then 3 doubles. Now that's just the beginning of row 3. Then comes the repeat. Okay, so we've got our 3 doubles. Awesome sauce. Okay, so for the repeat, we're going to do a sequence of 7, 11, then 3. So chain 1, skip a stitch, 7 doubles, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, there we go, 5, 6, and 7, chain 1, skip a stitch, then 11 doubles, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11, right? Chain 1, skip a stitch, and then double into the next 3. And that is a full repeat right there. Okay, get some more yarn going on here. Okay. Okie dokie. So again, the repeat, 7, 11, then 3. So chain 1, skip a stitch, and 7 doubles. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Okay. Chain 1, skip a stitch, then 11 doubles. Okay, I caught a ply there. Sorry. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Bit of a tangle, no worries. Okay, so I've got 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. Chain 1, skip a stitch, double into the next 3. And so you would keep doing that 7, 11, 3, 7, 11, 3, etc., 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 until you reach the last 6 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And then at that point, you would chain 1, skip a stitch, and double into the last 5 stitches. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and then double into the top of that last stitch. Sometimes it can be a little bit fiddly if you make your stitches tight, but perseverance and patience do pay off. And there you go. So that is the end of row 3. Okay, row 4 going to be a little bit easier than the last ones. So before we go any further, I just want to show you the reason why I'm doing so many repeats of the 24 is so that, like I said, you can get a real understanding of how the pattern works. So the eyelets there are sort of going up and then a quick down, then down, up, down, down, up, down, and then down at the last. It's this section right here from here to over here gives you a real sense of the repeat. I like to be thorough. I don't try to be redundant. Oh no, but I do like to be thorough so that you guys really understand what it is that I'm trying to teach you. Saves aggravation and headaches for everybody in the long run. I like being thorough and I like spending time with you guys. So for row 4, as always, going to start by chaining up 2, turn the work, and to begin with, a total of 7 doubles. Now this, chaining of 2 counts as our first. Skip that first stitch, going into the next with 6 more doubles for a total of 7. So I've got 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and this should be presumably 7. There we go. So 2, 4, and 7. Perfect. Okay. So then chain 1, skip a stitch, double into the next 11. And that's actually the repeat for this row. It's just keep going, going, going with groupings of 11 until we reach almost the end. So I've got 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and that should be 11. 2, 4, 6, 8, 9, 10, 11. Perfect. Okay. Then, yep, chain 1, skip a stitch, and double into the next 11. Okay, so we already have 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. 2, 4, 6, 8, and 11. Perfect. Chain 1, skip a stitch, double into the next 11. And, I can't stress this enough. Double counting is your friend because, quite frankly, when you get halfway through the following row and you realize that you miscounted, you'll thank me later. Trust me. 2, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. By double counting, really, it saves you time in the long run. Perhaps not in the immediate run, but in the long run, oh yes, it does. 2, 4, 6, 8, and 11. Perfect. Chain 1, skip a stitch, double into the next 11. If I ever have any helpful hints or tricks that will, help you in the long run, hey, I'm all about sharing. Knowledge is power, but sharing is caring, and I do care. Otherwise, I wouldn't do this. So, got 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. Yes. 2, 4, 6, 8. Yep. Perfect. Okay. We are definitely getting there. So chain 1, skip a stitch, double into the next 11. So that's already 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. 2, 4, 6, 8. Perfect. Okay, so you would just keep doing that over and over and over again until you reach the last 8 stitches. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So once you reach the last 8, chain 1, skip a stitch, and double into the last 7 stitches. Okay, so we've got 3, bit more yarn. 4, 5, 6, and double into that last one. And 7. Perfect. Okay, so that is the end of row 4. So as you can see, we have some joining going on here. We have that happening again right there. And then we have our bit at the end. All right, so onwards to row 5. Alrighty, row 5. Row 5 is going to be another one of those where it starts off a little bit offset, but then we will have the repeat. So to begin with, start by chaining up 2, turn the work, skipping that first stitch, going to the next with 4 more doubles for a total of 5. So I've got 2, 3, 4, and 5. There we are. Chain 1, skip a stitch, double into the next 3. Okie dokie. Chain 1, skip a stitch, double into the next 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Yes? Okay. So after doing your initial 5, 3, and 7, now comes the repeat. So for the repeat, it's a series of 11, 3, 7. So chain 1, skip a stitch, double into the next 11. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. 2, 4, 6, 8, 11. Perfect. Okay, so then chain 1, skip a stitch, double into the next 3. That's 1, 2, 3. Chain 1, skip a stitch, double into the next 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Yep, okay. Then again, 11, 3, 7. So chain 1, skip a stitch, go into the next 11. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. 2, 4, 6, 8, and 11. Perfect. Okay. Scooting right along. Chain 1, skip a stitch, double into the next 3. There we go. Chain 1, skip a stitch, double into the next 7. So you would keep doing your 11, 3, 7, 11, 3, 7 until you reach the last 10 stitches. So I've already got 4, 5, 6, and 7. Okay, so at this point I should have 10 stitches left over. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. That little guy in the end. All right, so then once you have your 10 left at the end of the row, chain 1, skip a stitch, and double into the last 9 stitches. Easy as that. So I've got my 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and last but not least, 9 at the very end. And as you can see, the edge is nice and straight, and that is why I do a chaining up of 2 instead of 3. As always, personal preference, it's totally up to you which way you decide to go. I just know that this works for me. So, at any rate, that is the end of, was it row 5? As you can see. There we go. All right, onwards. Okay, and row 6. All right, as per usual, going to start off by chaining up 2 and turning our work. There we go. And going to do 10 more double crochets. As always, skip that first one, going into the next, adding 10 more for a total of 11. So I've already got 2, 3, 4, 5. Sorry. The inevitability of having to pull out more yarn. So I already have 5. And 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11, yes. 2, 4, 6, 8, 9, 10, 11, perfect, okay. And then chain 1, skip 1, and double into the next 3 stitches. That's 1, 2, and excuse me. Pardon me. All right, so I did my eyelet and then 3 doubles, chain 1, skip a stitch, and double into the next 7 stitches. So that's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. All right, so we have 11, 3, and 7. And we're going to repeat that until we almost reach the end of the row. Not completely, because as I said before, things are offset. So because these eyelets, they keep shifting on us. They can't stay put for long. All right, so after doing our grouping of 7, chain 1, skip a stitch, and double into the next 11, because it's 11, 3, 7. So 1, 2, 3, come on, work with me here. All right, we got 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. N'est-ce pas? 2, 4, 6, 8. Okay, so we've got 11. Chain 1, skip a stitch, double into the next 3. Chain 1, skip a stitch, double into the next 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Okay. And then we do it over again. So chain 1, skip a stitch, double into the next 11. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. There we go. And then a grouping of 3. But before I do that, I'm going to double count because that's what I do. 2, 4, 6, 8, 9, 10, 11. Perfect. Okay, so I've got my 11. Chain 1, skip a stitch, double into the next 3. chain 1, skip a stitch, double into the next 7. And so that's really the repeat for the entire row, 11, 3, 7, 11, 3, 7, until you reach the last 4 stitches. So I still need to finish up my 7. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Okay, and I should have 4 left at this point, which I do. So chain 1, skip a stitch, and then double into the last 3 stitches. One more, and there we go. Yes. Oh, frabjous day, calloo, calais, he chortled in his joy. All right, there you go. And so your piece should, at this point, look something like this. I understand perfectly well that it looks like a hodgepodge of weird eyelets going in all sorts of directions, but we are only halfway through, ultimately speaking. So that is the end of row 6. Alrighty, my dears, so that is going to conclude the first part of the woven filet blanket. And I really hope that you're enjoying this, and if you like it, please give a little thumbs up button down below. You know that I appreciate your appreciation. And stay tuned for part 2, because we're going to finish up the remainder of the repeat. Like I said before, it's only rows 2 through 13 for the entirety of this pattern, but as always, I like to be thorough. I like to take my time with you guys. So until then, you know what to do, right? I want all of you to stay inspired, stay caffeinated, stay stitching, and please stay safe. Take care of yourselves and each other, and I will see you in my next video. And again, want to give a big thank you to Russ, Buddy, Rose, Spring, and Brenda for helping me to test this pattern, which you can find on my Etsy store, link in the description box down below. And I will see you later. Bye for now.